will regret working here. I'm the boss, and no one does anything without my permission.
An intern walks into a top-floor office with one secret. She's the CEO's daughter. In the glow of screens and the hush of midnight docks, small clues start to point to something no one wants to see. Every step pulls her deeper until one meeting changes everything. Watch till the very end. Every second matters. She listens, follows odd receipts and late-night moves, and traces a whisper of a hidden circle inside the company, until she finally steps forward and the room goes silent. If you enjoy intense, real-world mysteries and powerful reveals, please subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so you never miss a story. Where are you watching from? Comment your city name below. By the time the elevator doors slid open on the 31st floor, she had already memorized the names of 3 people she had never met. As the doors parted, a hush rolled out from the wide, open office like air from a deep cave. Screens glowed with figures and maps. Weather radar pulsed in a corner monitor. Tiny blinking red dots marked trucks across the country. Noise came in a thin metallic wash, all taps and hum and low voices. A living system that moved supply where it needed to go. The sign behind the glass read, Reed Meridian, and for most of the city that name meant one thing: Langston Reed. The man who built a freight dream out of 2 trucks and a loan that no bank wanted to give a black man. The man who hired people nobody else called back. The man in that high window office, though not today, because today he was home on doctor's orders. Naomi Reed stepped out as if for the first time. She wore a plain gray cardigan, navy pants, shoes you could not hear. Her hair was pulled into a low knot. Her badge read Naomi Rowe, intern. It was not a lie that she was here to learn. It was not a lie that she would fetch coffee, carry a laptop bag, and listen from chairs against walls. But it was also not the whole story. She knew the ghost in the numbers. She could smell it. It had a faint sour note, like warm toner and stale sugar. She had seen it in the books at night on her father's kitchen table, and in the way his finger tapped the same cell again and again as if it would change. He did not ask her to do this. He only said, "Take a look, then make up your mind." The morning she started there was rain, which made everything shine. The lobby floor, the chrome rails, the inward curve of a receptionist's smile as she scanned the new badge. The receptionist's eyes flicked to the name, then to Naomi's face. She had that half-second of recognition that people had when they felt a resemblance and could not place it. Then she smoothed it away. The elevator ride was slow and silent. Naomi watched the numbers pass, then fixed her expression to the clean, eager line of an intern who needed this more than the air in her lungs. Orientation was a small conference room with busted blinds that buzzed when the AC kicked. For interns, a tray with lukewarm muffins. The HR director, Marcia Cohn, swept in with perfume that bent the air and a binder of rules. Marcia's smile was sharp and fast. "Welcome," she said. "We're a family here, but a business first. We value hard work, respect, and loyalty. You're here to learn. We're here to help you succeed." Naomi nodded. She wrote in her plain notebook with the same simple calm anyone could mark as new hire nerves. Be visible. Be helpful. Don't be a problem. She took the binder. She took the badge. She took the seat by the door. While Marcia talked, Naomi let the room blur and the edges sharpen. A scuff patch on the carpet, right where chairs always scraped. A whiteboard marker that had bled out and stained a rag. A small camera in the corner with a faint red light that never blinked. She watched the stain, the red dot, the handbags lined up along the wall. In a place like this, people told you the truth by accident. When they issued her to procurement, she met Doug Halpern. He wore his shirt too tight across the middle and had the wet handshake of a man who thought he was winning. "We love our interns here," he told her. "You'll learn more with us than a whole semester can give you." He asked questions that sounded kind. He wrote down nothing. He introduced the rhythm of their days. Bid requests, vendor calls, 3 quotes for every large purchase, clean approvals in the software, and then the real rhythm. Calls after 9, a second set of files that matched and did not match the first. "Sometimes the system is silly," he said with a shrug. We streamline where we can. Bosses like smooth lines. He winked like they shared a joke. She carried coffee to rooms where men talked about the weather as if it were a rival firm. She wiped down a whiteboard and found the faint outline of a number under the emergency contact list, a number that was not a number anyone would write in public. She ran to the 20th floor with a box of sample labels and caught the tail of a sentence in the hallway. "Keepers," someone said. "We are the keepers." Two men laughed and fell quiet when the elevator pinged. She was easy to ignore. That was the point. At lunch, a bright pair of eyes and a quick voice pulled a chair to Naomi's table. "I'm Leah," the girl said. "Marketing intern. You look like you read the binder." "I did," Naomi said. "You'll unlearn half of it by Thursday," Leah said with a grin. "I like your notebook." "It was my college notebook," Naomi said. "I never filled it." "It'll fill," Leah said, and then lowered her voice. "Just don't try like too hard. People here smell ambition like cologne." She bit her sandwich and glanced left toward a glass room where a smooth, silver man leaned over a desk. The CFO, Evan Price. He had a way of smiling that covered the room like a lid. He waved, and Naomi waved back with her best small, respectful wave. He moved with a careful calm that made her skin tighten. The first odd thing that mattered happened on a Wednesday after most people left. Naomi stayed late because interns were supposed to stay late, and because the day quiet was a break from the time when she could move like water around chairs and desks and printers. After 7, the fluorescents hummed louder. The AC dropped another 2 degrees. Security walked by windows in slow figure eights. She gathered a stack of invoices and walked them down to the warehouse cage where paper lived. The freight elevator groaned, and the doors slid apart. A sour smell of wet cardboard and oil came in at once. On the loading dock, under a grim orange bulb, 2 forklifts shuttled pallets toward a truck with its tailgate down. No manifest in the slot. No clipboard guy. No escáner noise. One driver saw her and froze like his chest had trapped a bee. The other did not look at her at all. He moved the pallet, lifted set. The truck engine ticked. The dock guard, Mr. Whitby, stepped from his shadow and pushed his cap back. "You lost?" he asked. "To go," she said, then cleared her throat and tried again. "Procurement. Sorry, I am dropping invoices." He looked at the stack in her hands. "Leave them with me," he said. "You don't want to be back here at night." "Why?" she asked, keeping her voice mild and slow. He tilted his chin toward the truck. "Because the floor is slippery," he said. "Go on now." His voice was not harsh. It was the voice of someone who did not want a kid to see a thing and never unsee it. She held his eyes a second longer than she should, then nodded and went. The numbers told their own story. Purchase orders that closed at 11:58 p.m. against vendors with names that sounded like blind glass. The kind of words you could pass all day without catching on your tongue. Raven X Partners. Grove Cap. Billings Row. Addresses that were P.O. boxes in a strip mall 3 miles from campus. Discounts that did not look like discounts. Round numbers that were too neat to be real. Her father had taught her that neatness is a kind of dirt. In the margins of a report, she wrote 3 words. Payroll, fuel, shrink. She circled shrink. On Friday, in a meeting that was flat in tone and heavy with smiles, Evan Price leaned back in his seat and looked at Naomi as if he were looking through a glass. "You're new," he said. "How do you like our house?" "It's big," she said. "It is big," he said. "Big things need order. They need grown-ups. We live in the details. Do you know what happens when a truck is late?" He did not wait for her answer. "Ask Carla. She knows." He nodded toward the operations VP, Carla Denton, who had eyes like someone who did not sleep enough and hair pulled back with an old elastic. Carla did not smile. She did not look up from the sheet in front of her. "One late truck is a chain of late breaks," Evans said. "We prevent chaos with habits. Pride is one habit. Loyalty is another." She nodded as if she took it in like a kid would. All the while she watched how Carla's hand moved over the page, how her thumb hit each check mark with weight, how her mouth flattened when Evan turned his head her way. If there was a conscience in this building not already ground to dust, it might sit right there in the corner of that woman's jaw. The next week, she called a vendor. The phone rang and rang. When it clicked to a voice, It was the same voice she heard answer to a different name earlier that day on a call to someone else. She set the phone down and wrote that in the margins too. Leah brought her a coffee and a gossip thread. "Did you hear?" Leah said. "Someone got fired in accounting. They said she was taking things. But she cried in the bathroom for an hour and said she didn't." "Who?" Naomi asked. "Her name is Kim," Leah said. "She always wore the same sweater. She was nice." "That does not mean anything," Naomi said. "It means she's not the kind who steals," Leah said. I know. That is not logic. But also it is." Leah squinted at her friend. "You're not like other interns," she said. "You look at things like a nurse looks at a wound." That night, Naomi sat alone in the cafeteria with a cup of water and a neon vending machine glow, and she called her father from a number he had saved as someone else. He answered on the first ring. "Yes," he said. "Dad," she said. "I'm in." There was a long breath. Keys clicked somewhere. A TV hummed low. "I did not ask you to do this," he said. "I know," she said. "Do you still want to know?" "I want the truth," he said. "But the truth is not free." "What have you seen?" "Ghost vendors. Overnight trucking on unscanned loads. Numbers that close in batches. Just before midnight. A Slack channel called Keepers that I cannot see, but that two people in my row keep smiling about. Strong cover at HR, soft cover in finance. Rockin' ops. I think Carla is a break. I think they're rolling over the break." "What do you need?" he asked. "A lawyer I can trust. And I need you to tell me if I'm wrong." "You are not wrong," he said. After a pause, he said, "Don't get cute. Don't get heroic. When it breaks, you pull the pin. Do you have access to their skeletons?" "Not yet," she said. "I will." The note came 2 days later. Folded twice in the seam of a file, she returned to Doug's desk. It was on copy paper with a blunt blue pen. For words. "Go back to school." The letters were careful, not rushed. The O's were small. She held it up at an angle and breathed out slow. She did not throw it away. She put it in her pocket, walked to the bathroom, turned on the tap, and watched the mirror fog. A woman came in, washed her hands, met her eyes, and broke them quick. Was it fear? Pity? She tucked the note back in her cardigan and fixed her face. The trap she set was not elaborate. It did not need to be. She set up a dummy vendor. She spent a Saturday standing at the counter in a strip mall postal center with a box of documents, a small key to a small box, and a cheap phone she paid for with a wad of cash. She built a website that looked like a 6-month-old company with a full client list. She wrote an email that sounded like a person who had grown up around this work because she had. She looked for bid requests. When the RFP hit on a Wednesday noon for 10,000 pallets of thermal paper, she sent a quote that was 10% lower than market, with a clause that gave a one-time marketing support fee to whoever put them at the top of the stack. She waited. She did not have to wait long. Doug called at 3. "I can help you help us," he said, not knowing he was talking to the intern down the hall. "We have partners we prime. It's not always pure price. You know how relationships work." "What does hell mean?" Naomi asked, making her voice light and young. "It means the right people get thanked," Doug said. "There's a standard 5%. It's fine. It goes away. It's a marketing fee. You can push it into a separate invoice. Our AP knows which to float." "How do I market?" she asked. "Just put Keepers on the subject line," he said. Her hand did not shake. She wrote down the time, the date, the voice. She saved the recording with a file name that looked like a list of groceries and a timestamp. Then she pulled up a chart and added one more thread to the net. She did not sleep that night. She sat on the couch with the TV sound off and watched muted reruns of a show where people lied to each other with bright white smiles. Her phone buzzed after midnight. A text to the dummy number from someone unknown read, "Welcome. Play nice, get rich." She did not reply. The next day, Evan Price stopped by her desk. He smelled like cool cedar and smiled like there was nothing under his suit. "Naomi, right?" he said. "Yes," she said. "Don't let people overload you," he said. "You're here to learn, not to get taken advantage of." He looked at the stack of receipts on her table. "What are those?" "Old POs," she said. "I am scanning." "Not alone you're not," he said. "Leah," he called down the row. "Help our new person with boxes." "Don't be shy," he told Naomi again, and walked away with that smooth clap of shoe on carpet that makes no noise. Leah rolled her chair and went, "Wow, notice from the sun god. I don't like the sun, Naomi said. You and me both, Leah said, and then leaned in. Be careful. They watch. I don't mean the badges and cameras and the guy at the desk. I mean the eyes of people who think they own this place. That night, in the garage, a black SUV idled with its lights on. Naomi knew cars. This one was old money. It purred like a pet. She walked past without looking. The elevator door open button did not work. She pressed a close button that did. The door slid and stopped. For one quiet second, she watched the reflection of the SUV in the steel. It did not move. She breathed in the cold garage air and tasted wet cement and rubber. The doors closed. The car did not follow. By the second Friday, she had collected enough threads to know that the rot was not a rumor. It was a practice with a name. Keepers. A word that passed between a procurement manager and a warehouse lead. A word that lived in subject lines. A word that wore a smile in a memo. Keepers meant the ones who held it down for each other, who made sure the money stayed with them. Kickbacks went through consulting companies. Ghost time stayed on driver logs. Charges landed in an expense account labeled market smoothing. In their story, they were fixing volatility. In the mirror, they were taking. She reached out to one person she thought she could trust, Asha Patel. Asha had done legal work for Reed Meridian for years and had taken leave to have a baby 3 months ago. The day Naomi called, a baby cried in the background, and Asha said, "I don't do work right now." "I know," Naomi said. "It's me." Asha was quiet. Then she said, "Tell me." "I'm inside," Naomi said. "If I pull it now, can you catch them before they run?" "Do you have authority?" Asha asked. "Or will I be the only adult in the room who says law words while they smile?" "I can get it," Naomi said. "I need you to trust that." "Do you have names?" Asha asked. Naomi looked down at the list in her lap. "Yes," she said. "I have names." They met in a coffee shop at dawn the next day. It was still dark, and people in sweats shuffled past in pairs. Asha wore a hoodie and had tired, alert eyes. "You look like your father," she said. "You carry it the same." "I can't drop this," Naomi said. "He thinks he will lose the company if he tries. His heart is not on the wrong thing. But he is tired. Do you understand what it will look like?" Asha said. "A black CEO's daughter who comes in as a kid and starts cutting heads. They will call it tantrum. They will call it unfair. They already call him a front," Naomi said. "They already say he only got this far because he plays nice. I don't need them to like me. I need them to stop stealing from our people." Asha placed a thin folder on the table. Inside was a crisp copy of a board resolution with a signature she knew as well as her own name. It named temporary authority due to the CEO's medical leave. It stated that the vice chair and his designated agent could remove employees for cause with legal support. It had a lot of small words that meant one thing. When the time came, she could pull the pin. It had to be done clean. It had to be done with cause. It had to be done all at once, because if one person took a breath free, they would use it to burn the rest of the house. The night before she moved, she went back to the warehouse. The same orange bulb, the same smell of oil and wet cardboard. Mr. Whitby looked older. "Why are you here, girl?" he said, but he put no bite in it. "I need to see where the extra pallets go," she said. "They go where they always go," he said, and then sighed. "I got a night kid," he said. "His cousin is security. They told him to show you something." He jerked his chin. A young man with a thin beard and tired eyes came forward. "My name is Luis," he said. "My brother drives. They told us to move loads after midnight with no scan. They said it was short term, but it wasn't. Can you show me," Naomi asked, "how it is done?" He led her to a terminal where the scanner lived. He showed her the screen that let you manifest a load to a dummy route if you had a code. He showed her where the code field lived. It was grayed out, but there was a back door through a training mode that someone had left open. It was simple enough that a smart kid with a phone could do it. It was stupid enough to make her angry. She took a photo. She took 3. Luis shifted his weight and looked at the door and said, "They told me not to talk to anyone. And yet here we are," she said. "You were not afraid of the truck," he said. "Yes, I was," she said, and he let out a short, tense laugh that shook off his for a second. On the day she pulled it together, she did a normal thing in a normal way. She set up a staff culture talk for interns at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday in the main boardroom. It went on the calendar as a small event. A note was sent. Interns present a quick share from their first 2 weeks. That made nobody nervous. People came because they loved to smile at kids. Marcia came. Doug came. Evan stopped by and said, "I always love to see what our young people think." Carla did not want to come. She had trucks to move, but she was told to, so she walked up with a clipboard like a shield. 2 board members logged in from screens in quiet rooms 1 town over. Asha stood at the back with a tight ponytail and a legal pad. 2 security guards from an external firm Naomi had called met them in the hall. The in-house security guy, Jace, stood at the door and nodded once at Naomi as if she had just handed him a set of keys. Naomi stood by the wall like a plant. Leah clicked open a deck with the interns' names on the first page and a smiling stock photo of a team around a table. Leah spoke first. "We love the coffee machine," she said. "We learned who gives candy." Everyone laughed. Leah's eyes flicked to Naomi, who gave a small nod. Leah took a breath, went on with 3 slides that made it look like this was safe. The room relaxed. The hum softened. The clock hands moved. "Before we end," Naomi said, a clear voice from the side, "we have one more thing." Evan turned slightly. His eyes narrowed by a millimeter. "Of course," he said. "Go ahead." She stepped to the front. She sat, her plain notebook on the table. She looked like an intern up there for the first time. She did not talk about feelings. She put a spreadsheet on the screen with a login that should not exist for an intern. She had been given authority in the night. Someone had slid it under the door. The screen filled with dates, times, payments, purchase orders, vendors. She clicked. The line items collapsed and unfurled. Payments to Raven X Partners. Notes that said market smoothing. A green arrow pointed to a cell. She hit play on a small audio file icon in the corner. Doug's voice filled the room, casual and sure. "Just put keepers on the subject line." She watched his face go gray, then blotchy, then drop into a thin muscle laugh that people have when they hit the door in the dark. "What is this?" he said. "Are you recording me without?" She put a hand up. "Sit down, Mr. Halpern," she said, not loud, not mean. Just a clean, steady edge. The room went still. Even the AC seemed to hold its breath. Asha's pen moved. Jay stepped forward half a step, just enough that people could see he could move if he had to. Naomi clicked again. A second voice played. Marcia, saying, "We can route it through wellness. Expenses don't get flagged there." Marcia's eyes went large and wet, and then sharpened into a hard little rock. "This is a misunderstanding," Marcia said. "We talk about wellness." Naomi talked over her. "Board members, please confirm you can hear me," she said. A voice came from the speaker. Calm, a little old, a man who had seen too many meetings. "We hear you," he said. Naomi stood tall. She wanted to shake. She did not. She could feel her father's hand on her shoulder from a long time ago, the weight that said, "Be here." She said one sentence, clear as water. "My name is Naomi Reed," she said. "I'm the CEO's daughter. I am here today as the acting agent of the Vice Chair and CEO under Resolution 44. We will be addressing criminal acts that have harmed this company and its people." The color changed in the room. It was like someone tipped the glass and the light went new. There was a sound, then that was not a sound. It was the sound of people swallowing a thing they did not see coming. Evan Price blinked once, slow, then put on a smile like a mask. He spoke in the tone he used for bankers. "Naomi," he said, "this is very serious. We should not alarm the staff with untested claims." She clicked. She put up a slide that showed payments to a consultant that did not exist, linked to a personal account that did. She put up a photo of a doc after midnight. She played one more clip, a call to the dummy vendor, where Doug used the word fee 5 times in 2 minutes. Then she looked up at Evan, and in that second something in the line of his mouth changed. The mask shifted. He leaned forward and his voice went low. "You are playing with fire," he said in a voice meant for one person. "I brought water," she said, and she was surprised at her own calm. She nodded to Asha, who moved to her place at the table with the folder and the law words. Under Resolution 44, Asha read, voice steady, and with counsel present, the The following individuals are terminated for cause effective immediately. Doug Halpern, procurement. Marschicone, Achira Rico Varnes, Guerfaus. 2 security officers who will remain unnamed in this room have been suspended pending review. Badges are to be collected now. Do not attempt to delete files. Do not erase messages. There is an injunction. There is a hold. If you touch anything, you will be charged with destruction of evidence. Doug stood up. You can't do this without the CFO, he said, looking at Evan. Evan stood and smoothed his tie. As a CFO, he said, I object. The optics of this are terrible. A family affair. Naomi cut him. You're not on this list yet, she said. But you will sit down and you will listen. You could see the moment where Evan sized the room and chose who he would be in it. He sat. He smiled. I will watch, he said. For your sake. Security moved in with quiet steps. This was not the in-house team that looked the other way. This was another set of men whose shoulders were squares and whose eyes did not skate. They collected badges and computers. They did not touch. They did not make a scene. Doug made a scene for them, waving his hands, talking loud, turning to look to Evan for help, and getting nothing but the soft lid of that smile. Marcia packed her tote with tight, angry breath. She did not cry. She did not speak. She shook Leah's hand by mistake because her hand was there and pulled it back like she had touched hot water. Rico came in late. He had left a forklift on and walked up the stairs to see what he had heard. He stood in the doorway, breathing hard, and looked at the screen, then at Naomi. He knew her from the dock, from the night home. He put his hands in his pockets. He did not move. I got 2 kids, he said. So do a lot of people you hurt. Naomi said, not unkind. You can tell the truth now, or you can let others tell it for you. He swallowed. He looked at Evan. He looked at Marcia. He looked at the floor. Then he nodded toward the door and went out with the guard who did not grip his arm. Sometimes men know when a tide breaks, and they let it. When Asha read the last name, Naomi felt the room tilt and settle. She took a breath. She looked at Carla. Carla's face had not moved the whole time. Naomi said, Carla, I owe you thanks. For what? Carla asked flat. For the half a dozen times you kept loads back because they did not smell right. For the quiet complaint you filed 6 months ago that went nowhere. Pardon me, she said to the room, and then to Carla again. I found your emails. They died in HR. Carla blinked. Just once. What happens now, she said. Now we work, Naomi said. Now we tell the truth to the people who stayed, the ones who did their job while others stole. We fix the scans. We pay the night shift overtime like it's supposed to be paid. We raise the floor so nobody wants a handout from a man like Doug. We call the auditor and we let them into every drawer. We give back what was taken as far as we can. A hand went up in the back. It was Jenna, the CFO's assistant. Her voice shook, but she kept her words clear. I wrote the note, she said. I wrote go back to school. I didn't mean get out. I mean don't try this without help. I'm sorry it read wrong. It read right, Naomi said. You were telling me it was not safe. Thank you for warning me. Do you want to help fix it? Jenna looked at Evan and then away. She swallowed. Yes, she said. Her hands were cold and pale, but she kept them still. Evan stood slowly. He had not been safe since the moment she walked to the front. He had been playing for time, and he had run out. Is this the end? He said. We do theater and call it cleanup. You will be audited, Naomi said. Your files are already cloned. Your email was mirrored last night. If you're clean, you can stay. If you're not, you will leave. That's not theater. That's the light on. You're not used to it. He held her eyes. He liked chess. He thought he was 3 moves ahead of every person in the room. He looked at the board and could not see a path. He did not leave. He did not yell. He smiled again like a lid over boiling soup. Then I welcome the light, he said. I live in it. When it was done, the room emptied like a tide pulling back from the shore. Leah stood and hugged Naomi with arms that shook. You saved me from 6 months of pretending I did not see things, she said. I thought I was going to have to be small forever. Never be small, Naomi said. In the hallway, people looked in the door and then looked down and walked by faster. Carla leaned against the wall and shut her eyes for one long blink. Jay stood with his hands at his sides and said, They will rattle the pipes for a while. We will hold them. Naomi said. The rest of the day was not a movie. It was paper. It was calls to trucks. It was a sick feeling when she realized how tired she was and how long it would be before she slept well. It was a walk to the warehouse to tell Luis he was going to go home early and get paid anyway. It was a stop at Mr. Whitby's gate to say, "You can stop looking over your shoulder." He smiled at her with his old eyes. "I've been waiting a long time to hear someone say that in this building," he said. "Now, don't make me a liar." At 7 p.m., while the room was still warm from bodies and the smell of coffee had sunk into the carpet, Naomi stood alone in the boardroom and looked at the city through glass. The rain had lifted. The evening glow hit the buildings and made them look like something you could hold in your hands if you were big enough, if your hands were steady. Her phone buzzed. She answered. Her father's voice was low. "Are you safe?" he asked. "Yes," she said. "For now." "You did it," he said. It was not a congratulations. It was relief and grief and pride, and the sound a man makes when a weight he has carried alone for too long is finally carried by two. "It's not done," she said. "It's just started." "I know," he said. "I know." A breath. They will talk. They will say family. They will say girl. They will say all the ways to try to turn power into a joke. Let them. The numbers will talk louder. The people who stay will talk louder. "I had help," she said. "I did not do it alone." "Good," he said. "That is the only way it works." She put her intern badge on the table and looked at it, as if it were an object with a history. In a way it was. It had let her slide through rooms that close to a different girl. It had let her hear what men say when they think the person in the chair has no weight. Then she picked it up again, because the point of the day was not to throw a thing away in a small dramatic move. It was to do the work, to show up in the morning, to keep the pipes from rattling, to tell the truth even when her face went hot and her hands wanted to shake. She went back to her desk. She sent an email to the whole company. It was not long. It said, "We removed people today who harmed us. We will be honest from here. If you've seen anything, speak. There will be no punishment for truth. There will be a raise for the night shift. There will be new scanners by the end of the week. If you are afraid, come to me or to Asha. My door will be open. My name is Naomi Reed. I am here." After she hit send, she watched the replies come in. A flood of thank you notes and shock and relief. A few ugly messages that she did not open. A woman from accounting who had been fired last month without cause wrote, "I can sleep." A driver wrote, "I am proud to pull a reed load again." Leah wrote, "I have never seen anyone open a door like that." Jenna wrote, "I'm in." Carla wrote nothing. An hour later, Carla appeared at her desk with 2 coffees. She set one down and said, "One truck is late. We will fix that too." They went to work. The building felt different in a way that was hard to name. The hum was the same. The lights were the same. The cameras glowed with the same small red eyes. But the air in it had new weight. It was not dread. It was not fear. It was something like promise, but more solid, like a floor that won't give when you step. For the first time since she walked in as a kid with a borrowed name, Naomi felt the shape of the place her father built. She thought of the little girl sitting in a truck cab, eating a sandwich while her father delivered a load to a store that did not think to thank him. She thought of herself standing in a boardroom with a steady voice while men looked at her like she was a problem. She thought of the people in the warehouse and the little note and the SUV with its lights on and the word keepers, and she smiled a small, private smile. The keepers here would not be the men who took. They would be the ones who held the line. She put her hand on the edge of her desk and felt the smooth wood under her palm. She listened to the building breathe. Then she put her head down and started the long, clean work of keeping what mattered.